McCann program. What a privilege and a blessing it is to be with you all this Lord's Day, where we can talk about spiritual things, all things tracting, witnessing, encouragement, as we are living in the day of judgment. And let's open up with a word of prayer. I see Jeff is in the room. Jeff, if you're there, can you open us up with a word of prayer, please?
It doesn't look like he has his microphone connected.
If somebody's in this program, they can always get called upon. So I'm sure it's a little.
Hey, Oliver, do you mind? I'll unmute Oliver.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear.
I had to jump off the couch. All right. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this program. It's a blessing to have such a program where people can talk about their experiences of handing out track, and some of us have some issues of maybe handing out tracks. May this program be an encouragement to them. I think all the stories and witnesses that people talk about are very helpful, and it helps us and strengthens us as we go out and hand out tracts. And we thank you for such a program, Father. And we thank you for all the programs, the open forum, the program that they have Saturday, so all these programs that you're allowing thy people to be a witness of thy word. And we thank you and we pray that you would continue to bless us, Father. We pray all these things in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Sir Oliver. Getting some feedback. Hey, Carl, are you getting an echo when I speak or no?
I don't hear an echo.
Okay, good. I think it's gone now. So, Carl, as I promised, I think it would be important for us to just do another recap of the celestial clock. It's not a very strong subject for me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know for folks who are on this program if you all feel the same way. If someone were to walk up to me and says, show me in the Bible how you got to May 21, I'd have to point them to certain programs to make them feel a little more, I think, faithful programming. But
do you want to first see if anyone has any stories to share?
Sure.
10 minutes, and then
I know that's a lot. I know that's a lot for me to ask of you.
No, it's fine. I was thinking about showing a graphic that might be a little easier, but
good.
takes a
Sir,
little bit of time to
before
pull
you
it up.
go, do you have any stories or anything that might come to mind recently? Yeah, anything you might want to share? Any recent tracting or any words of encouragement?
I gotta unmute him. There you go.
Yeah, I mean, past week, I didn't spend a lot of time. I had some small, short instances where I was able to hand out tracts. Didn't really have any too many dialogues because obviously it's cold and people just want to grab the tracks and keep going. So people are not as open to dialogue when it's really cold as it is here in Philadelphia. So, but again, um, this program is just a blessing. I mean, handing out tracts. I talked to quite a few people. Matter of fact, I was on the phone with one of the believers a day, and he was handing out tracts while I was talking to him. So, um, yeah, it's just a blessing to hand out tracts.
Yeah. We were tracting at Reading Terminal a few weeks ago.
I do hear the echo. Hey, Oliver, you don't happen to have like a second device?
No, I initially had my JBL, but I turned that off, so you shouldn't be getting any feedback on my end.
Okay, if one of you guys can go to your microphone settings under microphone modes, if you click the little arrow, it'll say noise removal. You just want to make sure that that's selected.
Noise removal.
Yeah,
Yep.
if you hit the little arrow.
Yeah, I hit the arrow. I see It says audio settings. Do I hit that?
Yeah, just don't hit audio settings. Just right above that, you'll see microphone modes and select noise removal.
I don't,
It's
yeah,
under,
mine says not highlighted though.
It could be
It
you
says
don't have the
microphone
latest
knows,
copy of.
but that setting is not. I can't even click on it.
Okay, so but do you see the setting that says noise removal?
Yeah, I see it. Maybe it's because I had my JBL on. Hold on, give me a second.
sure.
How's that?
Let's do it. Testing.
How's that?
I'm still
No.
getting it.
Yeah, we're getting like a reverb. But
But
if you mute,
Wow.
yeah, I'll mute you, Sir Oliver. And I just want to say we were tracting together at Reading Terminal, me and you and James. And we were there many, many Saturdays. It was cold. And a gentleman walked up to me and he said, I want to encourage you all to keep doing what you're doing. And he lifted up his work duffel bag and he showed the Why is the World So Divided tract. He works at Reading Terminal. And I saw him walk, I think he was at one of the sandwich shops inside. And he says, I read the tract and he said something to the effect of the people need this, but I want to encourage you. And I said to him, thank you very much. It means a lot to us. You know, we're out here, you know, we try to be out here every Saturday. And it's nice to see someone who read the tract responding with us. So we really appreciate that. We have that Ask a Bible Question sign. And he stopped me and he wanted to share that. And I thought it was really encouraging because sometimes you're tracting for hours and you're not getting that kind of response. And he showed the tract, he said he read it, and he wanted to encourage us. We don't know if he's saved or not, but I just wanted to share that with you, Oliver, and also the folks here, because sometimes you're tracking, you're being watched, and you may not see what God is doing. So I just want to let you all know, you know, that can certainly happen to you when you're out there tracking. All right. I see Tommy, your hand is raised. Please go ahead, Tommy.
Yes, good night, everybody. How are you?
Hi.
Just a quick note. On Red Note, the video that Carl did with the Chinese app, a lot of people are sharing those apps with other people. So that's a good thing. And the Why is the World Divided track in Chinese are being shared out with other Chinese and other international people seeing the track.
Right. And just to restate that, have you all downloaded Red Note? Red Note is the opposite of TikTok. And anytime TikTok starts letting them down, they move over to Red Note. And then when TikTok comes back, they move back to TikTok. So it's like this tug of war. Would you agree, Tommy?
You know what? I used to be on TikTok. I used to, I wasn't active involved in much of TikTok, but I'm more active involved with Red Note. It's more international. It's more worldwide. People are reading these videos that I record through here, and it's really well received. So I'm very grateful and blessed.
Yeah, that's a very, very nice ministry, a Red Note ministry to have. May it be that God would, continue to bless. Now, Tommy, we just learned about how the open forum program via Zoom has a translation feature. So if Chris is speaking, you can go to your Zoom settings where the three dots are that says more. It's probably on everyone's interface right now. So you can do it while we're talking. If I share my screen, you will not see my Zoom settings. However, I can take a picture of it and we can do a screen share. But on everyone's Zoom, if you go all the way to the far right, you'll see three dots that says more. You're going to click on that more. You're going to click on your settings and you should have maybe 9 options. One of them should say captions and translation. You're going to click on that and it's probably going to have another drop-down menu under captions and settings where you're going to probably see a little button that you're going to slide that's going to allow you to begin using translation. And then you're going to see another button that says your spoken language and also the language you'd like to have it in. So as you're watching the Q&A, you can literally see Mandarin on the bottom of your screen. So if you decide to do a short, even though it's in English, you can see the Mandarin symbols there so folks can read it in their own language, even though they're speaking English.
The only thing is, yeah, it's like a minute long. So I would have to do like every minute re-record and, but I do it so quickly, I'm getting used to it now. But yeah, I've done that feature already. And so it's going to be helpful even more.
Right. And who knows how, E-Bible Fellowship can do that now. I don't know if you're listening, Carl, but let's say we wanted 5 different translations of the open forum. All we would need are just 5 different PCs, change the settings, and upload it. And now
yeah, that's one way to do it, maybe.
Yeah, I think it's a bit barbaric, but just to start, whoever has an interface, they can get it translated in text.
Depending on how well Zoom translates it, it might be better to use some sort of script that will take whatever you're saying and transcribe it automatically into maybe like 10 different languages.
Were you watching the Q&A with Chris's text? It was very accurate.
Yeah, it was pretty good. Yeah.
It was pretty good. Look, and I saw Chris say it would do it as well. And I thought that was pretty accurate. Very, very precise, very precise. Thank you, Tommy. May God bless you. And since you're here, and I know you're muted, I'm going to ask you to unmute again. This is the time of year for Chinese New Year. And for all the folks who are used to this, I get so excited when I think about this. Tosh has sent me over 300 tracks in Mandarin. So we have our tracks. The next step is to set on our sign. So Tommy, I know this is the year of the horse, right? I think.
Yes.
And do you think Red Note is going to have any specifics as far as the new year? Have you ever experienced that in the past?
By prayer, I'm hoping. I leave it up to God to see where He leads me to that. But I think the more we are sending it out there, and the more people are sharing these videos and posts and tracks, who knows how far He will take it.
Great. Well, Lord willing, if we have some videos for the Chinese New Year, I'd like to send it to you.
The only thing is, it's tough to do it through YouTube because it doesn't recognize the Carl would know. Yeah.
You'll be able to access it via Dropbox, and then you can upload it via RedNote.
And that's what I have to do through that way, through my phone. Yeah, and upload.
So let's convene, and I'll try to send you some videos from the Chinese New Year, and then you can upload it that way.
Okay.
Sir. All right.
All right. Thank you.
And may God bless you. Good talking to you, sir. All right, Miss Evelyn, please go ahead.
Hi, Gary.
Hi.
I thought that the transcripts were amazing. I was able to view the whole transcript and follow it, which is awesome because I never could catch the verse. Sometimes I'm they say it so fast and I can't catch it, but you could see the whole thing. You could even go back and scroll in case you missed the verse that they mentioned in the question.
Yes.
It's really nice. It's very good. Awesome. Thank you for letting us know that today.
Yeah, and I heard you on the Spanish.
And they're into the end.
Know what you guys were talking about now with you guys in Zoom, we'll be able to.
That's right.
Listen, I'm sure there's all of you here watching that program, and we have no idea what they're saying.
That's right.
English speakers next week, God willing, when they do the Spanish program, hit the 3 dots that says more, go to settings, go to captions and translations, select the language you'd like to have, and now you're going to be able to read everything that program is having. So now we just, instead of just feeling good, we're going to actually be able to understand what they're saying in the program. So thank you, Miss Evelyn. Anything else you want?
Yes. All that last Saturday we went tracking in the supermarket. It was amazing. She got one end, I got the other. She got the end, the people leaving the supermarket. I got the people going into the supermarket. It was an amazing, awesome reception. I highly recommend. That's a spot to do. the supermarkets.
In the city, or is that in the suburbs?
Oh, here where I live in the suburbs, in the area, she and I live close to each other, so.
And you know, a lot of people have a New Year's resolution. Maybe track perception might be a little high.
But
Resolution to get, you know.
I tell you one thing, I definitely left there feeling so happy. So I just kept thanking God. Thank you for giving me that person. Thank you for giving me that location. Thank you for everything. I was so happy, and I'm just very thankful. So, so thankful.
I heard Ozzy went tracking with Joselito as well, and they had some tracking. So there's lots of people who are tracking, and sharing that, because there are people who are tracking and we have no idea. Might give the impression as if they're not, but they are. They're out there.
Yeah, they're out there. Like me, I don't take pictures, but you now know because I talk on the during to the end. But other than that, you'll never know.
And for those who are tracking that we don't know, like Mr. Homer Lee and many others on the West Coast, like Vincent, and people who are in your hometowns in Ontario, if you're just wearing a hoodie when you're going shopping or doing your chores, I'm telling you, this is it's very exciting to know that people are doing their own thing and finding ways to be a blessing, and nobody knows about it. Just like folks who are giving, as we just heard, eBible have been able to cover a lot of their costs. So thanks, Miss Evelyn.
Thank you. Bye.
And yes, Mandy, please go ahead.
Hi, I just wanted to chime in with the transcript. I speak French, and I turned on the French, and it was very faithful. I was able to read it out loud, and it was really amazing. And I'm so excited to use that on the Spanish enduring to the end, because I've been tuning in and I'm trying to learn Spanish, but I can hear, a couple of things I can, understand, but I'm so excited. It's going to be like a whole new show for me. And my son and I are going to be so excited.
Oh yeah. I heard Eddie say like cuerpo like so many times. Like, what's cuerpo? So yeah, very much. May God bless you. Thank you for sharing about the French, that the French is accurate. And that's really good to know, because there's a lot of people who are using Zoom, and we hope that more people can do this. And I hope and pray that God might bless some of the studies that are being done. Oh, it means body. So, man, I heard cuerpo. I'm like, what's cuerpo? It's body. So that's great. And participation is going to definitely improve for the Spanish program. I hope to see you all there, and I hope that we hit that button and we're going to be able to follow along, and it's going to be really, really exciting, because my son and I, we're just sitting there and we're just feeling good, but we have no idea what's being discussed. So thank you, Mandy. Anything else?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention the New Year's Eve program. I loved those last two songs in Chinese. I thought that was really amazing how you can use that tool that God has opened it up so we can translate songs to other cultures. And Chris was right in open forum. I believe that we are kind of spoiled where we have so much in English, and now God's opened up this tool that we can use to, like he said, you could turn it into man's voice, whatever God wants, as long as it's faithful to the word of God. But I just wanted to mention that was interesting. The New Year's Eve get together, that was really a blessing. So.
My name, and also your Christmas greeting that together, that was really a blessing. And I really enjoyed it. And Russell, he said 2033.
Yeah, I love that.
I laughed because you have like-minded friends and you see their personalities, and everybody was just the familiar voices. When you listen to a Q&A and you hear your voice or Oliver's voice or Russell's voice, you just know these are our regular callers. And it's just wonderful to be a part of a ministry. We're like the new family radio, that God has raised up. So thank you very much for sharing that as well. And yes, Oliver, please go ahead, sir.
How's my sound now?
Good.
No echo? Yeah. Um, yeah, I was going to say, you don't have to worry about Vincent. He makes sure we know he's handing out tracks. But my interface is slightly different. When I click on the three dots, I don't see that. So I looked along the bottom of it and it says show caption by itself. And then it says my speaking language. That's what you would click on?
That would be
Okay.
in which if you unmuted your microphone, it knows what language it needs to use to interpret.
So I would have, while I'm listening to them, I have to unmute my microphone. You mean?
It just within your microphone, it's capturing your voice,
Right. Gotcha.
translate it in a language that you would like for us to see when we're doing this program.
Gotcha.
So every person who's using Zoom, if you would like to translate your language into another language, I could use Afrikaans, for South Africa. I could go into my captions right now, and I'm going to hit captions, and it says translation. I'm hitting the button, so it's going to go to the right, and it says you have enabled translation. Set the language you will read captions in for this meeting. So I've enabled translations. If I want to read captions in for this meeting, I'm going to try. It'd be funny if I change it to a language I can't undo because I don't understand it. So maybe I won't do that. But yeah,
You can use Chat GPT to help you.
yeah. I've got Arabic.
Don't use AI. Remember, don't use AI.
I tell you, we just did a study about the mark of the beast, and all of a sudden there's fear about AI. It's like the timing. But Arabic, Bengali, Cantonese, Czech, Danish, Dutch, Estonian, Finnish, French, German, Greek, Hebrew, Hindi, Hungarian, Indonesian, Italian, Japanese, Korean, Malay, Norwegian, Persian. I mean, it goes all the way down to Welsh. And I think Tipperary man might know. I think Irish has a different language. I think it's Welsh. Welsh Irish, I think they call it. I don't know. But yeah, thank you for sharing that. And yeah, just this is a wonderful thing that we have this opportunity, even with Zoom, where we can adjust settings and reduce noise and translate together. And I tell you, next week I'm definitely looking forward to that program. I want to see if it works. Now, if you're on YouTube, you will not see the language you wish, except for that Carl chooses. So the prevalent language that he can put on YouTube, he will use English most likely. So Carl, if you're listening, that's probably what he's.
Well, I can pick one language to display, I think, as subtitles. I wouldn't do English for YouTube because you're already listening to English. So let's say I did.
Probably,
Yeah, what's that?
you probably use English for the Spanish program.
Oh yeah, for the Spanish program for sure. Yeah.
Right. So
I have to see how that works, but for right now,
we're gonna. I think for today, when I was watching on YouTube, I saw English on my screen on YouTube because your Zoom settings. I had that there. Irish, it's Galige. I don't understand. I don't understand that statement. But yeah, Carl, let's try it out, Lord willing, next Sunday, and we'll see how it works. All right. And yes, Sedania, please go ahead.
Actually, it's Miriam. I'm using my sister's phone. Hi, everyone. I have a question. So I had texted, when is the new site going to be up or anything? Because, for example, the Spanish tracks that I pass, I always tell them before we change it to 1 o'clock, listen at 6 o'clock, and now it's 1 o'clock. And when I go online, I don't know when the new site's going to be up, but there's nowhere that can even tell anybody 1 o'clock to do this, to hear the Spanish stuff. That's all. A little bit frustrated. Thank you.
Thank you. Good question. And it is a bit frustrating, when you see those construction sites work in progress. So, Carl, I don't know if we can put one of those construction hats on. We need to get specific with some of the programming. Do you think the new website's going to have an interface that's very easy to read in terms of the schedule and the programming? All right, we got an out to lunch sign. But Lord willing, we're going to work on making sure that the interface is very easy to read. I just see just one line of time for Spanish Q&A on current site. Yeah, so that's something that we can do right away, so folks can know what time programming will be. The more information we have, the better. And yes, it's something that we can try to work on. Thank you for that detail. Also, a dear friend of mine, Johnny went on vacation and he took tracks with him. Now I'm trying to upload these the videos that he sent me. He texted it to me, but unfortunately, I'm trying to save it to my drive, and I'm having some issues porting over these videos. So I believe I may have sent it to Dropbox. If I'm not able to do it today, I will certainly try to open these videos for you to see. And it just reminds me of folks when they're going on vacation, when they're, spending time with their loved ones, sometimes they'll sneak away and they will pass out tracks and come right back with the family. And I'm sure some of you have done things like that, where if you're on vacation and you're out and about, you will take a bunch of tracks with you. Dave Johnson just did that when he went to the Philippines, and he and I had a fun conversation. He says a lot of folks think that we're boasting when we're tracking, and we both concurred. Sometimes we don't want to tract. I don't want to use this word despise, but there's like sometimes an unwillingness. When you want to go tracting, you just gotta get this groaning. You have to do it. It's the right thing to do. And after you're done tracking, you're so happy you did it. You're so thankful you did it. But either getting up early or planning the night before, getting materials, signs, tracks, your hoodie, making sure you have all your gear. And then Dave was telling me that when he was tracking in Philippines, there was somebody approaching him trying to possibly rob him or scam him. So folks who think that, you're tracking, that, we're trying to show off, there are moments where it's gritty. It's either cold or the wind slapping you in the face. And sometimes there's moments where you forget all about that. It's just a beautiful day. The sun's hitting you in the right spot, or you found a nice little spot where the wind isn't hitting you, and you're very thankful for that. But, sometimes you want to use the restroom, or sometimes you're not at your destination and you have to walk and you realize you walked in the wrong direction and you're walking away from your meeting point when you're on a mission trip. And so you have to do additional walking. You might be dehydrated. Maybe you didn't bring water with you, or maybe you're not feeling well and you decided to go out and tract anyway. So please be encouraged. If, you're seeing someone say something like, "Oh, look at those folks showing that they're tracting." Well, if you've tracked before, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You get the nose, you get ignored, and you're just thinking, yes, Vincent, right, the flesh is still there. That's right. So someone might say, "Oh, this person's out all the time tracking and they're taking photos of themselves." Please know, the flesh is there. And, sometimes you don't want to go out there to be rejected or to be reviled or whatever have you. But as you continue to do it, it's a muscle that you work, and you get a little stronger and you have a smile on your face, and you get past the nose, and it's a privilege. It's an honor to be out there. And so there starts to be a transition. But yes, the flesh is still there. And thanks, Oliver, for sharing that. And I see a verse here. Now, this is Galatians 5, verse 19 through 21. Now the works of the flesh are manifest, which are these: adultery, fornication, uncleanness, lasciviousness, idolatry, witchcraft. Someone called AI witchcraft, hatred, variance, emulations, wrath, strife, seditions, heresies, envyings, murders, drunkenness, revelings, and such like, of the which I tell you before, as I have also told you in time past, that they which do such things shall not inherit the kingdom of God. And it's interesting, if you've been in fellowship for a while, we go through these seasons of testings of doctrines that come about. And what's on the menu this time is AI and vowel points. And you thought AI wouldn't come back. I'm sorry. I thought vowel points was taken care of. You thought that was something that was done with. And, here it comes back again. Vowel points. You're like, oh, that's a thing now. Vowel points is a thing. And now AI is on the menu, which is good because we don't want to abuse these technologies. Maybe there's something that God is using that we need to address. And now there's another topic we have on the menu, which is the timeline, a celestial clock, the sun and the moon and the stars, and the Hebrew calendar. So it's interesting how these topics can kind of bubble up, which is good for us because we need to be in the scriptures. We need to exhort, reprove, rebuke, admonish, and we might need correction. So it's good to hold these things up to the Bible. Surprising to see vowel points coming back. I thought that was a slam dunk. I didn't expect vowel points to come back, but it's here. And now we have the timeline, which is a much more difficult nuance here. So Carl, if you're there, are you there, Carl?
Yes, I'm just about ready.
No.
A few more minutes.
Plenty of time to discuss other things. I'd like to
Thanks.
talk about one of my favorite topics, the Chinese New Year. I just want you all, if you're planning on joining, that's great. If you're not planning on joining us, we covered your prayers. These things that we think about or we plan, like Vincent said, the flesh is still there, and we want God to go with us and to bless our endeavors. And we want to make sure that God is blessing these things, not by our own will, but by his power, his strength. So we ask for things like good weather, that the right people would be there. So we have the New York City Lunar New Year Parade. And just to let you know, there's one in Flushing, Queens, and there's one in Chinatown, Canal Street by the Manhattan Bridge. So the one that I'm presenting to you right now, this is the one in Queens. And I really like the one in Queens because it's like a little bit easier in terms of parking and access. It's a bit farther away. But what I'd like to just show you here is just some of what the scenery looks like when people do like their fireworks and their idol worship, where they're looking for good fortune and so on and so forth. We're not going to go in the nighttime. This is what happens at nighttime. If there is a team that wants to go out at night, it does definitely seem like a little bit of craziness going on. And compared to the daytime, it's a lot more, I would say, family oriented and family friendly. And I would think probably a bit easier. I'm just going to forward up a little bit here where they do singing and celebration, and they have all kind of stuff. This is the one that's in Canal Street. And I have a funny story for you all. This was the same area where I had our signs initially that had the Judgment Day, May 21 sign with the Chinese flag. And it was a procession like this where someone threatened to pull my sign down, and God delivered us out of that. But that's the one in Canal Street in Chinatown by the Manhattan Bridge. And it definitely is a very festive kind of event. This is the one that's in Queens. And let me see if they're going to show an ad here. But the one that's in Queens is a lot more quiet, as you can see. It's a lot more reserved. And having a backpack sign with "Why is the world so divided?" and a QR code, you can imagine the kind of circulation that we're going to have. So having a backpack sign, I'm definitely, Lord willing, going to bring one. we have about, I would say, 350 Mandarin tracks. So we'll have English and Mandarin. I would humbly suggest if you do have the Mandarin tracks with you, I wouldn't give it to a younger person. More than likely, they speak fluent English. If it's an older person, I probably would be giving them the Mandarin tract. But they might look at you and say, what are you giving to me? I'm Korean. Or what are you giving to me? Give me English, please. So maybe we can say a nice greeting in Mandarin, which is ni hao. And I'm practicing Mandarin right now to say Happy New Year, which is Xinyan Kuai or Xinyan Hao. So maybe we can practice saying something like that. That'll really get their attention. You know, if you say something like Happy New Year in Mandarin. Yes, and Sir Oliver, he just put something in here. The 2026 Philadelphia Auto Show is scheduled to take place from January 31st to February 8, 2026. So for folks who don't know about the auto show, they go to all the major cities. They're going to be at the Jacob Javits Center in New York City. They will be at the Philadelphia Convention Center. They will also be in Wilmington, Delaware. For any Delawareans down there, they will be at the riverfront. They have a convention center in Wilmington where if you wanted to tract and get almost everybody in the Wilmington area and just be right in that vicinity, that would be a great time to tract. So you're going to get a bang for your buck. If you want to hit a lot of people in Wilmington instead of just walking up and downtown, you can go to the auto show in Wilmington, Delaware, which would be just a few weeks ahead of the Philadelphia program. And you can stand on the street corner. You're going to have a funneling of people going to this program where you can hit a lot of people in Delaware. They'll be coming to you from probably the entire state, all the car enthusiasts coming to that auto show. So yes, we have the Chinese New Year. Someone also writes the World Cup is coming this year. We need a World Cup committee. I know Miss Evelyn said that she's interested, so World Cup committee. Please be prepared. We're going to have folks, we talked about this, from the Brazil area, certain parts of Africa, and I think France, and a surprise team, depending on the rankings from a particular nation that God might work out, is going to be coming to the World Cup, during that time. So if you're interested about these things, Lord willing, we're going to have a virtual day in the Word and an in-person day in the Word. Well, let's see if we can start to develop a committee where we can plan these things, and you can set that time ahead on your schedule. So on my agenda, Lord willing, the next program, I hope to have that video of Johnny, who was on vacation, and he was able to show some videos. I'm going to see if I can work that out. Johnny, I believe I missed that time. Do you mind just telling us a little bit about your trip, where you went, and what it was like just doing that tracking there, if you're there?
Hi, Gary. How you doing?
Good. Happy New Year, sir.
Same to you. Same to you. Yeah. So yeah, I was out in Mexico with my family and I, and of course, I always bring tracks with me.
Part of Mexico.
Whenever we were down in like the Riviera Maya location, down like Playa Car, and we were at a resort, of course, but I had a rental and we went out just about every day doing different things. And of course, I would bring tracks out with me. Interestingly, I had a nice time down in Tulum. That's down further south of Cancun, and I handed out tracks there, and they were very receptive down there, actually. So I found a method when I was down there, because we went down to see the ruins down there, and it had the National Guard there. So upon my arrival, I decided to give out tracts to the locals who were the vendors, the local vendors, as well as the National Guard as well, who were there, and they were receptive of the tracts. I figured, while I was inside the little park area there, that I didn't want to give too many to like the tourists there. I wanted to be respectful, but I was able to give tracts out to the National Guard as well as the employees there, and they were all receptive. Thank God. And I was so thankful to to have reception down in that area as well. And the video that I had sent you, I don't normally take videos, of course. But the video I sent you, we had went down to one of the cenotes, they call it, where you do like the swimming and like the little holes they have there. They have thousands of them down there. And there were just people, local vendors there as well. And the video I sent you, it was just three ladies sitting down there, and there were vendors as well. And I just approached them as well with tracks and said, "Can I share this with you?" My approach normally whenever I'm tracking, my approach is normally can I well in English I would say, or in Spanish both, I would say, "Hi, how you doing? Can I share this track with you related to the Bible for the times that we're living in?" And so that's my normal approach. Just letting people know that the track is related to the Bible for the times we are living. And yeah, in Mexico, I had pretty good reception. I took, I think, like 3 stacks and then a stack of English. And of course, when you're down to your last track, you're like holding on, who's the elect here? And yeah, I managed to hand out all of the tracks there.
That's great.
To God's glory. And I'm so thankful that he puts it in my heart. And like you were saying, I just got on a program. I was busy doing something for a few minutes, and I heard you and Oliver talking. I just caught the end of it saying it is not easy being in the flesh out here, and being rejected in the flesh, rather, I should say. So of course, I'm sure for myself as well as others, we're always praying for strength, and praying that if we are rejected in any way, that we accept it graciously and kindly, and with understanding that, as you said in the past before, that some of these people we're approaching still may be God's elect, and they just may not understand. They may have This may be the first time hearing this information. And so I've been praying for that for myself and for all of us, actually. And in this day of judgment, I find myself praying for God's people, because I know that if we are indeed God's elect, of course, that we are all going through the same circumstances, you know, maybe different circumstances, but we're all going through the same thing as we're out here tracking for the Lord, and feeding sheep, with the rejections, and with everything out here in this day that we're living in. And I just find myself praying for strength for all of us, because it's not easy, especially being in the flesh as well, and dealing with the world the way it is. So
Thank you, Johnny, for sharing that and turning your vacation into a mission trip. Taking 3 stacks with you, that's a lot of tracks. I know that would make me a little nervous. Like, man, I got to get these out. So that's a blessing. Who knows who God's elect are? And now that we know the door is shut, you turn your vacation into a blessing. You turn your vacation into, not only spending time with loved ones, but doing also the will of God. And I tell you, this is why this program, I think, is such a blessing, because it gives a different insight and a testimonial on what someone is doing on their vacation, and it can inspire us to do the same. The next time I'm going somewhere I'm not too particularly interested in, I'll say, all right, let me just take a stack of tracks with me, or let me wear my hoodie. I'll just wear my hoodie and go for a walk, and I'll put some tracks in my pocket. Maybe I'm a little nervous about tracking, but I'll just keep them with me, and just making yourself available. So Johnny, thank you. May God.
One other thing, I saw you do the line last week, and yeah, and I wanted to share this in the past. So when I saw you do the line, that's something I've done in the past. I've noticed like people standing in line maybe for like the food banks, even lined up for church at some time. I know everyone's not going to church who may be in line for those food banks. And sometimes I'll see a line and I'll like, Lord, it's gonna be because I keep tracks with me in my car, stacks of them. I mean, I keep stacks in the car because you just never know what the Lord might have planned for your day. And so whenever I see lines there of people in line for food banks, whether it's at a church or maybe a mission center or whatever, I pray for strength and I step out and ask God for the courage to do so. So, yeah, I was encouraged to see you do that.
Folks in the audience, have you ever seen a line, and have you ever had that thought, I should pull over and give them tracks? And you get that sinking feeling. Oh no. Oh, and you know what you got to do. It's not like you don't know. You know what you got to do. You got the tracks on you.
You got to do it.
You're like, I got to do this. I don't know.
Do it.
It's kind of funny when someone says, it's like posing. We're posing, and no, sometimes we're dreading. We know that you're approaching a crowd of people, and all it takes is one person like, get out of here, man. Get out of here, man. And you have to stand there. Okay, well, thank you, sir. How about you, ma'am? How about you, sir? But yeah, I'm glad that I was able to do that video, and someone kind of admonished me and said, we leave it to the Lord about the reaction. But that really wasn't, I didn't want to have that to be the focus. I just wanted our like-minded friends to say, okay, when you do this, this is what it looks like. It's not as bad as you think it is, but we want you to experience what it's like when people are waiting in line and you're going right down each time. May I share this with you? This is from the Bible. And you see people, yes, no, 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 yes, no, no, yes, 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 yes. Doesn't matter. But it's good for you the next time you see a crowd, if you have tracks with you and you're so inclined, pray before you go, leave it to the Lord. But I see someone here, California freeways crowded, about 5 lanes wide. Yeah. There's lots of opportunities just to hold up a sign, to wear your hoodie, or to extend your hand. Thanks, Johnny, for sharing that. And just like how your story encourages me, the next time I go on vacation, bring 3 straps of tracks, depending on what I'm doing to make that vacation worthwhile. All right. And Sir Eddie, if you're there, I forgot what I was going to ask you. We have this new program called Saturday Night Christian Talk, and I'm so blessed that you're part of the group. It kind of makes me feel it's legitimate now. Because you're amongst the team, and it's just really a blessing. And perhaps if you could, we've been doing the Mark of the Beast. If you want to tell a little bit about that program, if you don't mind.
Sure. Let me just first say I was listening to you guys about half an hour ago earlier on YouTube, and I heard you try and speak Spanish. I felt bad, so I figured I might as well log in.
Cualpo. It's Cualpo.
Yeah, no, I really enjoy the Saturday night discussions. We get to talk about the Bible. We get to pick the topic, and then we just kind of see where that takes us. As we saw yesterday, we had a couple individuals, one in particular, who just kept commenting, which allowed us to basically take his comment, take it to the scriptures, and offer him the scriptures to see or to show, listen, your comment isn't really harmonizing with the scriptures. So, maybe you can take these verses and check them out and see basically what you can do with them. And I think it's a real blessing to be able to do that, to be able to, one, obviously accept correction if we need to. So we encouraged, at the end, we encouraged everybody to, if you're going to make a comment or offer some kind of correction, then great. It would speed things up, though, as if you would offer the scriptures to go with it.
Yeah. And Eddie, it's kind of interesting. Everything he was telling us not to do, the Bible was instructing us to do. He said, don't spiritualize. And he said, no, the Bible's a spiritual book. And he said, date setting is dangerous. You shouldn't be date setting. And
yeah, it's ironic that this is the same individual who recommended that we study. He had a bunch of books on hermeneutics that we could study, on how to study the Bible. And everything that he was putting forth, like you said, was backwards from what the Bible actually taught. And then we just kept bringing up the fact that, listen, if you're suggesting that we read some good books on hermeneutics like you've done, well, then you're a living example of what would happen if we did that. And then you mentioned probably the best response, that we do have books. We have 66 books on hermeneutics, which is the Bible, which I thought was a great response.
And I tell you, I really think that God might be continuing to use this program. The next topic would be no more salvation. It's a very grave and, it's a sorrowful doctrine, but I think it would be good that we can continue talking about these things. It's Saturday evenings, 9:30 p.m. And I see a comment here. I can't lie. I thought the same thing seeing Eddie. That's right.
Sorry, not to interrupt, but I noticed since we started, I think we've been getting more responses. We've been getting more interaction. And this has only been our third, fourth week doing this. So, obviously we're looking forward to see what God is going to do with the program.
Yeah. And having interaction in the chat is always helpful. We will continue to do this as the Lord allows, because it's the Lord's ministry. And I'm just very, very grateful. I see Vincent, the same thing. I'm sure Vincent is thinking too. This is the Lord's ministry. You might see us, doing these things, but it's not us, And God knows how to separate and remove and establish and set up. So I really thank and praise God for programs like this. And now that we have a new program where there is going to be directed prayer for the ministry, I think that's very needed. Because, I'm sure E-Bible Fellowship is going to get more expansive. And, this could be not just a worldwide ministry that we're reaching out, but that the worldwide knows about E-Bible Fellowship. And that scrutiny will continue to increase. And knowing things like the timeline of history and the questions that will come our way, I think we need to be good stewards of the Bible. And thank you very much, Eddie. Is there anything else you wanted to add, sir, or bring up?
I guess no, just the fact that, really to be thankful for all the technology that has allowed us to come this far, and all the new technology that is allowing us to go even further this coming year. We are using it all as much as possible to be able to reach as many people as possible. I don't know if you were still on yesterday when Carl was showing us. He basically put together all of Mr. Camping's studies. He's got them digitized in written out form, and the search query that he showed me was amazing, where you can just search out one or two words at a time, and it'll just show you a result of everything that he ever said, which we always refer back to his studies when we want to try to understand something or gain his insight. And I think that's a very useful way of using all the new technologies that we've been blessed with today.
Yeah, and I'm sure somebody would say, that's a man. You're following a man. But no, God has established teachers, just like this program that we're talking about on 9:30. And we do feel a sense of comfort when we see someone who is a faithful teacher. You can't miss that. You know, when you see someone like Vince or Lester. I heard Lester was tracking in California, and you hear, oh, Lester's here. Oh, now we're talking. You know, you can't help it. You can't help it, no matter what it is. When we see that there are people who are faithful, you know that God is using that, right, Vince? Would you agree, sir, that God is using people for different things?
Oh yeah, sure. If God's moving in you, you're gonna know pretty much you're gonna start getting, um, you're gonna start wanting to do it God's way and realize that it's Him working in us to get all the credit and glory. But like I said, the flesh is there. So if we're new in the Lord, He's got to work on us, and break some of those old habits, you know, that seem to want to come and go, you know. But yeah, that's one thing when we recognize truth, um, we love it as God witnesses with our spirit and um, makes us realize that um, our mission is to focus on Him. And like Chris said, put down the flesh. Only God could have helped us put down um, the body, you know, by His Spirit. That's the only way it can be accomplished.
Right. And Vincent, just anyone thinking that you know, a lot of this is for the glamour or for spotlighting, what would be your thought if someone were to kind of say, well, it looks like you're just, you just want people to see what you're doing. Well, what would be a response that you'd like to just share with folks?
Well, I mean, sometimes, I mean, if you're a child of God, of course, the flesh, it's gonna shine. We're not perfect, but I believe that God chastises us to realize that no, you're saved by my sovereign grace. Um, sometimes you got to keep your mouth shut, you know, and but I do have this urge to do God's will, to get the message out there. I don't do it perfectly. I don't claim to be perfect, but I feel that I have an intense desire to be a messenger with the truth.
Yeah.
Sadly, though, when I think about the world, that most of the world are going to be annihilated, most likely in a few years. And my family members and friends, I see no interest in the true salvation. And that's heart wrenching. That's it's sad, but but then again, what can you do? You can't do anything. Just pray for them. Maybe somehow they were out of the church.
Well, thank you, Vince. And I would agree as well. All glory goes to God, and to every action there's a reaction. And some might rejoice and they'll say, "Oh wow, maybe I need to do the same." But also, depending on whatever person's personality, they might be more of a contrarian, and so they might be admonished as well. But what comes out of their mouth could be on either the critical side. But I think God's will be done, and it's very much an encouragement to see you out there. The weather's conducive, and it seems like you're redeeming the time. And I listen to Chris, and he talks about that wasted time, wasted time. And sometimes I'm doing something, I'm thinking to myself, this is a waste of time. I need to be doing something else. And I thank God that there's people like you and other people who we don't know who are watching this program and say, well, I tracked. You guys just don't know about it. That's right. Or maybe you wore your shirt when you went to the grocery store. Little things like that. We're not taking glory. Like I had this gas station challenge where I would give a tractor in the gas station. I had no pleasure doing that. No pleasure when somebody's pumping their gas. I'm asking them if they'd like to read a Bible tract, but I get great pleasure knowing that I'm doing God's will.
Well, I walk up to police officers and give them tracts and tell them, hey, thank you. You know, you're serving the Lord. You might not know it, but you know, because I remember when a police officer used to arrest me, and I wouldn't even talk to them. I didn't like the police. But now, you know, out of respect for God and God puts me in authority, I love those people and respect them.
Yeah, praise God for that. And this is a good testament that God is hopefully working in us, that people who we would have objection with, we don't see the outward man. God looks on the heart. And just someone has a particular background, whatever, has nothing to do with God's salvation program. So may God bless you, Vincent. Thank you for sharing that. And Carl, we only have a few minutes left because we do have Sir Robert and others.
I'm ready.
Could you give us a crash course again with some of the celestial timekeepers and so on?
Okay. Yeah, I just created a graphic this time just to hopefully try to explain it a little bit better. But so can you see that?
Yes, I can. If you want to blow it up, you can if you want.
Okay. Yeah, I'll zoom in. All right, so this first part is just showing that the lunar calendar and also the solar calendar.
Okay.
And the Bible actually shows there's two calendars because we have two clocks. You have the solar calendar, which is the sun, and you have the Hebrew calendar, which is the lunar calendar. So our Gregorian calendar follows the solar calendar. The Hebrew calendar follows the lunar calendar. And the lunar calendar goes through 12. There's 12 cycles, like when the moon does a full cycle, it goes through all its phases.
Yeah.
Right. So if you do that 12 times, that's equal to like a lunar year. And that if you do 12 times the average lunar month, you get 354 days, 0.367056. And if you compare that with the solar calendar, you get 365.2422. So they aren't perfectly in sync, which is why Mr. Campion has that mathematical formula that basically syncs up the two calendars.
Interestingly enough, that would be off by 10 point something.
Yeah, it's rough. And I think it's going to change. I don't know if it's always like that, but yeah, 365. It's about a 11-day difference. Yeah. So what this means is the Earth is rotating around the sun. That would be the solar calendar. And then the moon going through 12 different of its cycles around the Earth would be the lunar year. So it's just a different way. It's a different calendar. It's not the same type of calendar.
No question, Carl. But the moon does not orbit around the Earth, or does it? It just doesn't change its position.
Well, the moon and the Earth both orbit around the sun, but the moon just goes through phases around the Earth.
So the Earth spins, but the moon is kind of fixed, right? I don't know.
Yeah, I guess I'm not sure. I guess if the Earth is spinning, then yeah, that's why. Yeah, maybe so. That's why it would have. I'm not an astronomy expert in that area, but okay. So then we know from the Exodus to the Jordan, that would be 40 years from when they left Egypt.
Gotta be the very same day of 430 years.
Well, that's from when Jacob entered Egypt.
Right.
430 years later is when they left. So you go from the Exodus all the way to the when we go to the end of the 40-year wilderness sojourn. When they're going to cross, when they're about to cross over Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, when they cross over, we're going to find it's exactly 40 years, because you'll see the Exodus Passover was on Nisan 1447 BC, and the verse that says that would be right here, Exodus 12:2-6. This month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you, and ye shall keep it unto the 14th day of the same month. And the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it in the evening. So this is letting us know that Passover is on the very first month and it's on the 14th day of the month.
It's 1 month, 14 day, right?
Right. And we call that first month Nisan, but it's also called a bib. Where, you know, that's the month that was the month where God established this new calendar.
I should be
So
taking.
now Passover is always going to occur on Nisan 14. That's the date for Passover.
Okay.
So 1447, and then we read, if you go 40 years later, we read after they cross over the Jordan River, they celebrate another Passover. That's also on Nisan 14, and that's Joshua 5:10. And the children of Israel encamped in Gilgal and kept the Passover on the 14th day of the month at even in the plains of Jericho. So that's letting us know, based off the lunar calendar, that from Nisan 14 all the way to Nisan 14 in 1407, that's exactly 40 years.
Hmm.
So to the day as far as the lunar calendar.
So it's clean.
Yeah, it's pretty clean. But notice the Gregorian dates are different. The
Right.
Gregorian dates, so you'll see Passover was March 21st in 1447 BC. You can see that right there. And then right here, Passover is March 29th. So there's actually an 8-day difference when it comes to using the Gregorian versus the lunar in this case.
Okay.
And so Mr. Campion had discovered that there's actually 8 days. You can kind of map out those 8 days. But anyways, so now we'll look at the solar calendar and how that fits into this. So they left, so Nisan 14 was when they celebrated the Exodus Passover. But the Bible lets us know that the day after Passover, that's when they left Egypt. So you'll read that here. Let's see. Right here, Numbers 33:3. And they departed from Ramesses in the first month on the 15th day of the first month.
Hmm.
On the morrow, after the Passover, the children of Israel went out with an high hand. So that lets us know that the very next day on Nisan 15, that's when they left Egypt from Ramesses. So now we're at Nisan 15. But now we're going to focus on the solar calendar here, because Mr. Camping had pointed out that God's highlighting this day after they left. So that would be, if this is March 21st, then Nisan 14 is March 22nd. So now we're going to go from March 22nd of 1447 BC. And exactly 40 years later, Mr. Camping plugged in March 22nd of 1407.
Hmm.
So this would be exactly 40 years using the solar calendar. Right? And that would be the first day that they lodge at Jordan. Now, to see if this all fits, to see if that's accurate, right? If it fits, he provided verses in the Bible that shows we could kind of walk through to see if we'll get to, see over here, we have March 29th up here,
Yes.
right there. Well, if March 22nd is the true date, Gregorian date that they lodged at Jordan, then we have to walk through the scriptures to see if we can land on that date for Passover.
I think I see what.
Yeah. So sure enough, when they lodge at Jordan, exactly 8 days later, they celebrate Passover. You can walk through the scriptures and it takes us to March 29th. So it basically confirms actually the calculation of the celestial clock.
This is amazing because on my birthday, which is the 27th of the month, right?
Mm-hmm.
7th of every month, it's always my birthday. But in this case, the time span between like a 40-year time frame could have different numbers, right? If I understand that correctly.
Well, here it's going 40 years using the lunar calendar is different than going 40 years using the solar calendar. So the lunar calendar here, it's only when you go from Nisan 14 to Nisan 14, that's exactly 40 years, lunar years, I guess you would say, 40 lunar years. But here, this would be 40 solar years. And so God, basically, this is showing that God's implemented both the solar and the lunar calendar in the Bible, not just the lunar. So we can't just, and I know a lot of people have been focusing on the Hebrew calendar, but this is showing God's uses both. And it makes sense because he created the sun and he created the moon, right? So they're two different types of clocks in a sense. So, and then I'll just show you this last thing. So so Mr. Camping, I think what he did is he made an assumption. You have to start out with the assumption, okay, if they left March 22nd, exactly 40 years later, they lodge at Jordan. So we have to say that. So let's just assume that was March 22nd, and we'll see if it fits. Because keep in mind, he had already the calculation March 29th as Passover for that year. And so if we're starting with March 22nd and going exactly 40 years in the solar calendar, and they're lodging at Jordan on March 22nd, we need to see if the Bible will support us, if it will allow us for Passover to land on, if it lines up. Like if this is off, this March 22nd, if that shows March 20th or 19th or 18th, and the scriptures doesn't allow us, we know, like this is our endpoint, March 29th. We have to get to March 29th. And so I hope this isn't too confusing. I know it's a.
But my question would be, if someone were to ask me, what is the purpose of just having that 40-year calculation on the Gregorian side, now that we have both time frames, what would be the spiritual benefit of me getting these two dates on the Gregorian side, now that we have the lunar calendar calculation and the solar calendar calculation? Okay, they're off. Well, what's the ultimate goal that we are looking for?
Well, because God has two calendars, like for example, when we say Noah entered into the ark, or when we say May 21 aligns with ER 17, that's a lunar calendar aligning with the solar calendar. So I guess the benefit would just be to see how God keeps track of time using both systems, both calendars. And it's basically to prove that God does use the solar calendar in the Bible. I think that's essentially.
We could use the solar calendar to kind of confirm if the lunar calendar is correct.
Yeah, if they're synced up, if we're right about our math, essentially. Because keep in mind, so look at this date, March 21st, and look at this date, March 29th. Now, if I go here on this the tool here, this is just math that can be done on paper and pen. If I type in 1447 BC, it's calculating Passover to be March 21st of the year of the Exodus.
In our Gregorian calendar.
Right. Using the solar calendar. Now, if I type in 1407, it calculates Passover to be March 29th. That's an 8-day discrepancy, right? So if Mr. Camping's right about his assumption, where if March 21st is Passover and they left the day after Passover, March 22nd, he's going to see, all right, let's see if the solar calendar fits within the Bible. So we start with March 22nd, and we're going to go exactly 40 years later to when they lodged at Jordan, and he's going to see if it fits. Let's see if we can make it fit where our end point will land on March 29th, right? And so when we do that, we find, let's see, I think it's in Joshua 3. The other website's down that I normally use. So I have to use this one. So God gives some details here. So in the morning, Joshua rose early in the morning, and they removed from Shittim. There's a verse in Numbers that lets us know Abel Shittim was their last encampment. And they came to Jordan. And it also let us know that this basically happened in the same day, because Abel Shittim is very close to Jordan. So this is still, so Mr. Kempy's like, okay, could this be March 22nd, right? And he and all the children of Israel, and he and all the children of Israel and lodged there before they passed over. So now God's letting us know they're going to be camping out there. And it came to pass after 3 days. So if this happened on March 22nd, 3 days later, would be March 24th. Now let me explain. Mr. Campion said when it says after 3 days, it's better understood as at the end of 3 days. So March 22nd has to be counted as that first day. March 23rd would be the second day. March 24th would be the end of 3 days. So that takes us to March 24th. Remember, the goal is to see if we can land on March 29th, because that's what the math is showing. So here we're already at March 24th. Okay, that the officers went through the host, and they commanded the people, saying, when you see the ark of the covenant of Jehovah your God, and the priest that the Levites bearing it, then you shall remove from your place. All right, if we just scroll down. And Joshua said unto the people, sanctify yourselves, for tomorrow the Lord will do wonders among you. Okay, now that's letting us know that's going to be March 25th, tomorrow, because we're on March 24th. And Joshua spake unto the priests, saying, okay, they took up the ark. And Jehovah said unto Joshua, this day will I begin to magnify thee in the sight of Israel. And then let's see. We got one more clue to see what day this is. I think it's the very next chapter. Okay. So we know that the Passover is gonna, I mean, when they cross over Jordan, we know that's gonna occur on March 25th. Let's go to the next chapter. And this lets us know the very day. And it came to pass, and the people came out of the Jordan on the 10th day of the first month. Okay, now God's giving us, we know this is March 25th because we just walked it through, but now God is giving us the lunar calendar here. This is the Hebrew calendar, the 10th day of the first month. So we started with March 22nd. They lodged for 3 days, 1, 2, 3. On the morrow, Joshua said they're going to cross over. We're at the 25th, and look, that's Nisan 10. Remember that verse just told us that's the 10th day of the month. So we know it syncs up with the Bible, this understanding, right? And then we know Passover occurs on Nisan 14. So that means 4 days later, they celebrate Passover. And what do you know? 1, 2, 3, 4, March 29th. Right there. So it just fits perfectly,
How do you know it's 4 days later that they celebrated the Passover? Is that just
Because remember in the Bible, we know if we're on Nisan 10, Passover is always on Nisan 14. Remember, remember we just read that verse. And the people came up out of the Jordan on the 10th day of the first month. That's Nisan 10. We know from the Bible Passover is always on Nisan 14. And just to further prove this, we can just go over here, and it lets us know they celebrate Passover
see? So
right
I
here.
understand what you're saying now. Now that we have that established Hebrew date, we have it already calculated to the Gregorian date. So we know we just have to add the difference.
Yeah, because they're not perfectly synced up. Now, and the children of Israel encamped in Gilgal and kept the Passover on the 14th day of the month at even in the plains of Jericho. And then what's interesting, it says, and they did eat of the old corn of the land on the morrow after the Passover. You notice when they celebrated Passover in Egypt, right? It says on the morrow they left. And so again, God's highlighting the morrow after Passover. And if you look on the calendar, the morrow after Passover would be Nisan 15. And what does that land on? That lands on March 31st, which I thought was interesting because that's the same day where Jesus was in the Garden of Gethsemane, March 31st. And for some reason, God is highlighting the fact that they ate of the old corn of the land on the morrow after Passover. Why add in that detail? So,
Disciples eating the corn and they were complaining. And
yeah, well, this is the last day that they have to eat manna because look, and the manna ceased on the morrow, right? On the morrow after they had eaten of the old corn of the land.
right.
So again, now the manna ceased on the morrow after they ate of the old corn of the land. So I believe that would be April 1st. April 1st. And then if you kind of just keep walking it through, it appears that it's one sequence of events after another. And I think by the time you get to the walking around Jericho, I believe that the walls of Jericho fall, I think on the 7th.
I see. And
It
that's
all appears to be in order. Like you
right.
could just keep going. Like, okay, if the morrow after they ate the old corn of the land, see, and the manna ceased on the morrow after they had eaten the old corn of the land, that would be March 31st. Sorry, that would be April 1st. So if that's April 1st, then you kind of just keep going. This is when Joshua meets the man with the sword in verse
Right.
13, 14. And then as soon as you get to chapter 6, it just goes right into it. Now Jericho was straightly shut up because the children of Israel, none went out, none came in. There appears to be no passage of time, and now God's giving them instruction. You're going to go around Jericho 6 days,
Mm.
and just from everything you read, and then God lets us know. Okay, and Joshua rose up early in the morning. So this would be April 2nd, I believe. He rose up early in the morning. If the previous chapter is April 1st, and this is when they're going around, and they go around for 6 days. So you can kind of just follow it through. And it came to pass on the seventh day that they arose early about the dawning of the day. So it's like very detailed with all these time references.
God hides that seemingly information that doesn't seem to have relevance. Now it's hanging on the celestial clock confirmation. So
Yeah, and this would be in the way we can kind of confirm if we're on the right track is the syncing up of the solar and the lunar. And we saw that with this day right here. See, Mr. Camping's like, let's plug it in. Let's see if we can go from March 22nd of 1447 to March 22nd of 1407, right? And let's see if it fits. And sure enough, there's exactly 8 days that God maps out. There's 4 days of encampment, or 3 days of encampment. One day they cross over Jordan. That's 4 days. And then 4 more days they celebrate Passover. That's that 8 day difference that we see from March 21st to March 29th.
incidentally, Carl, some folks have issues with AI, and we'll close soon. You could have probably punched this into an Excel formula, right? If this means this and if this means that, you could probably punch that all in as well, right?
Yeah, maybe so. Yeah, there might be a way to make sure. Sometimes it catches details that you might miss.
Right. So folks have a fear that, or this is something that artificial intelligence is doing. It's far from it. Mr. Camping was able to, ascertain this information before. And I think God did that on purpose.
Yeah, this can all be done on paper. So here's the math right here. If you want to calculate Passover in 1447, it's just you can write it down right here.
Who's
Dividing.
get a who's got a pencil and paper who's willing to check this work? So
It's only 6 steps. There's only 6 steps. So I'll briefly explain them and then I'll let you close the program. So the first step is calculating how many years. So we have a fixed date of when they from the cross, right? That's our anchor date of Passover, and you can go any year.
do we have other anchor dates, or do we just want to use that one because it's the most significant?
Actually, we have May 21.
967 BC. That doesn't qualify?
Sorry, say that one more time. Somebody was talking to me.
67 BC doesn't qualify as an anchor date?
What was the date?
967.
I don't know. That'd be interesting to look at. But we know 2011, I believe does because we have
Gotcha.
how many days from. So you could start with 2011 and the math is the same. You just work backwards from 2011 to 33 AD and it equals the same thing. But the cross is pretty foundational. So you can go from any year. So if we go to 1447, we're just calculating how many years from the cross to the Exodus. So you're going backwards, and that's what that equals right there. 1,479 years. You're multiplying that by the tropical year, and that's telling you exactly how many days that is.
Got it.
540,193 days. 0.213800. That would just be a fraction of a day right there.
Quarter of a day almost.
Yeah, almost a quarter of a day. Yep. So that actually you can figure out how many hours right there. You can do the math and figure out it's almost about 6 hours. And then you can take that many days and divide it by the lunar month. So now we're taking days. So remember, we got the tropical year, divided it by how many years, and that gave us how many days. Now we're taking those days and dividing it. This is the solar calendar. That's how many days from the solar calendar. Now we're dividing it into the lunar calendar.
Okay.
That's that lunar calendar, and that's giving us how many months that is.
Gotcha.
And then from here, we take the fractional month, 0.66, 70, 41. And now that we have this fractional month, we need to figure out how many days is this month.
Right.
So that's the math to do that is you take the fractional month and you multiply it by the lunar month again. And that tells you that's 19.69 days, right? And then now that we have that figure, the 19.69 days, that's what this fractional month is. We can minus it against the lunar month again. And that will also give us the remaining days here. So if you add up these 2 days, it equals the lunar month. Adding the 19 and the 9, that'll give you the lunar month. But we take this final figure and we round it to 10 because it's close to 10. And so that lets us know how many days we go forward or backwards. And our fixed date is always March 31st. So remember, we went from March 31st on the cross. Now we're in March 31st of 1447. And now we can shift either forward or backwards. So if I go backwards 10 days, that would land on March 21. That's what we have for Passover. If I go forward 10 days, that lands on April 10th. But we can rule out April 10th because it doesn't match with the Bible. If I were to assume Passover, we go forward 10 days and try to map it out, it won't work with the Bible. I have done it. It won't work. So now I understand why Mr. Camping chose March 21st because it fits with the.
Vincent has a question, and we're running out of time, but I would like to know why are we left with two options? One for
Because it's a matter of figuring out Passover occurs after the spring equinox, and so you're just basically subdividing a lunar month. So you have 19 days here on one side, and you have about 10 days on this side. So it's a matter of, do I go backwards? So you're taking this final figure, and do I go forward or backwards?
I'm sure there's a common sense function. I'm just trying
Yeah,
to.
this is the shift because okay, we're going from March 31st of 33 AD to March 31st of 1447.
You only
So
have. You only
so
have. Well,
Gregorianly speaking,
Yeah.
Gregorianly speaking, this is the solar date. But because the moon isn't perfectly aligned with the solar, we saw that earlier. That's why we apply that shift. The moon is letting us know, okay, you need to apply a 10-day shift. That's why we're shifting.
Right.
We're just shifting that March 31st date, and that gets us in alignment.
Gotcha.
So the question is, how do you know to go forward or backwards? And you have to see which one fits with the Bible. Because God is letting us know in the Bible that in this case you do go backwards because that's what fits with the Bible.
Gotcha. And I think that would be in every case. But yeah, Vince, if you have anything you'd like to state before we close,
He's got to unmute himself.
it's got on mute, Vince.
Okay, so the lunar calendar and the both calendars, is that how they got to May 21st, 2011, and the second month, the 17th day?
Yeah, using the calculation, yeah, that's how we can determine that May 21 aligns with ER using that same function.
Okay,
So we don't have to rely on any outside, like the modern Jewish calendar, any tools online,
Okay, so what about 2033, the Passover? What would be the both calendar dates?
What would be for both?
Yeah.
Okay, so you can just do a quick calculation. Do 2033. And that's letting us know that Passover lands on Nisan 14. This always calculates Passover. From there, you can map out the rest of the year. But that's April 14th. So if you look here, May 33. This is the calendar that just maps it all out. So if we go, so Passover lands on April 14th in 2033. And that would be, Passover is always Nisan 14. So Nisan 14 would be the lunar calendar. April 14th would be the solar calendar. Because our Gregorian calendar is a solar calendar. Now, just one last thing.
Okay.
Our Gregorian calendar is a solar calendar. We follow 365 days. But the dates we're using, Gregorianly speaking, are adjusted to sync up with the celestial clock. Like you'll notice we don't have any February 29th.
Right.
Because those are added days because they have to add those leap years to keep up with that 2422 because it's not a perfect 365. So it's really a proleptic Gregorian calendar that's been synced up with the actual celestial clock.
Let's look up that word proleptic. Someone asked, which is the correct one to follow? I believe based on this, the answer is both, correct, Carl?
Yeah, we follow both. Exactly. Because there's two clocks in the sky. You have a lunar clock and you have a solar clock.
That's true. People watch the movies and people do use the sun. Very good.
Yeah, the Jews use the Hebrews use the lunar calendar, and we, the Gregorian calendar, uses a solar calendar. So we use both. There's two calendars, and I believe the stars may work as a third calendar. I'm not really sure how that works. I don't know if we've ever created a calendar based off that. But
So, Carl, I just thank God for you. I mean, having this resource available, I mean, I'm gonna have to look at this again.
oh yeah, this stuff just came I mean, based off the email Chris found with the math. I had known nothing about this. And
Right.
Mr. Camping didn't have any studies telling I haven't found any of his studies telling you how to do the math. So it just so happened this one email that Chris happened to have saved allowed us to put this together, you know.
May God be magnified. And
Yeah.
this is very, very interesting. Vince,
And having access to his timeline studies because that's how I knew to look at March, you know, and compare it to solar calendar because he talks about this thing.
I look forward to reviewing this again with everyone. I hope that we can beat this into a dead horse. I mean, I want to be able to do this with my eyes closed. But if we find that it's becoming a bit oppressive, maybe we can move on. But I think we're just scratching the surface with understanding the offset. And I think we've just learned an important principle that the sun and the moon are calendars that we need to compare in order to come to truth. And I think we've learned a lot today. And I thank God for you all. Vincent, if you mind, could you close us out in prayer?
Yes, sure. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for a blessed Sunday Sabbath that we could come together and be around your word, and that you give us e-Bible Fellowship as a Christian ministry. Like Mr. Chris said, we're not a fellowship. We're just like-minded people coming together, learning from the Lord, and God working in us to will and to do of his good pleasure, and showing us the truth and leading us on through the sea, which the world's divided. And we thank you for Chris, Eddie, gifts you give them to help us learn your precious word. Thank you for Sunday. We always need it. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thanks, Vincent.